So the word that actually here, when we say atonement cover, the word here is called mercy seat. Okay, so even though God is in a place where everything looks like God is judging people, and in the end, this seat, the place where God is actually resting, it actually should be called a judgment place. But it reveals God's nature of who He really is and how He wants to approach men, how He wants to look at men, how He wants to look at the people that He has called men His own, and that He wants to look them in a place where He really wants to meet them, and that is called the mercy seat. In the Word of God, Jesus is identified as not just, I'll put it out here. It means when Jesus is set forward, He's not just identified as a sacrifice. He is also identified as a propitiation. Propitiation is meaning to say the very word of a mercy seat. That means He is the very atonement what God will look through. So whenever God is looking through you and I, this Ark of the Covenant was supposed to reveal that there will be a time where God will not just meet people on the mercy seat. He will meet people and set people and talk to people through the mercy seat, and that is actually Jesus. He will look to them through the mercy seat, absolutely forgiven, without a blemish, without anything, because in front of Him, in front of God, in the mercy seat, there is absolute perfection. When you talk about the mercy seat, there is absolute perfection. God is not looking at anything else but the mercy seat. And to give us proof of that, God put the very 3 things that Israel denied. He puts the very 3 things that Israel rebelled God against with. He puts it in the covenant just to show them, you know what? I'm still talking from the mercy seat. I know your rebelliousness. And I'm going to put it right underneath the mercy seat so that you will understand this is where I want to talk to you. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be called a God of judgment. I don't want to be called a person, you know what? I want to show you who I really am, and my intent is to show mercy. Jonah goes in a place and he says in Nineveh, God, I know who you are. You desire mercy, not judgment. You desire mercy, not judgment. That's the intent, the very heart of God. He desires mercy, not judgment. And yet the church has become so judgmental. Yet the church, His very own children, have come to a place where we are so judgmental and we're not talking to people as God would talk to people from the mercy seat. And we have made our own seats higher above the mercy seat and said, this is the seat I talk above. Come to my level, then we'll talk. And that's all judgment. And Jesus is our propitiation. He is our representation of who we really are. And this is the Ark of the Covenant. The 3 things, just in case you missed it. The tabernacles, the tablets where the law was written. As soon as Moses comes down, he sees that the first law very God has given, you shall have no other gods before me, has been broken because they've made this calf, a golden calf, and started worshipping it. The rod of Aaron that budded into almonds because they couldn't believe, they couldn't accept the leadership of Moses and Aaron. The people of Israel couldn't accept it. So when when God said, you know what, this is what you'll do. You'll put up all the 11 tribes, everyone else, put up rods. And overnight, whichever rod buds with almonds, that will be my leader. And only Aaron's rod budded with almonds. And God put that in the tabernacle, in the covenant chest. Then He puts out manna, a bowl of manna. You put it inside there because you did not accept God's provision for you. You thought God would come out here, put you in a desert, and make you die. You did not accept God's provision, rebelled against God's provision and being source of your life. The very rebelliousness of Israel was put in this chest, in this testament. There is nothing else in there. There is nothing special in there else. Only the rebelliousness of people. And God says, on top of it, put the mercy seat. This is where I stand. This is where we meet. To make you understand, I am a God of mercy. I am a God who desires mercy. I am a loving God who desires mercy. And all the angels, those 2 angels are looking at they're looking at each other, but they're actually looking at the mercy seat. It's just to define you. You know what? They are trying to read the blood. They're trying to pass through. All they can see is the mercy seat. They cannot see the rebelliousness of God. When God says, you know what, I have taken away your sin from you as far as the east is from the west, He is actually true to His word. He is not trying to see your sin. I will not remember their sins. I will remember their sins no more. That's what He says. You know why? Because He's acting as who He really is, a covenant-keeping God. He will believe what He says, and He will do this. Yes, He's a sin-hating God. He doesn't like sin. You know why? See, get this. He doesn't hate sin because it's sin. He hates sin because sin corrupts people, destroys them, and makes them dead. He hates sin because it destroys the people He loves. It's like saying, you know what, if someone of your family is going through an illness, that, for example, someone going through cancer, you hate that cancer. I'm telling you, you hate it with everything you have. But you love that person. You know why? Because you hate the cancer only because it's hurting that person. And exactly that way, God hates sin. And He hates sin because it destroys people.